Joining us now are two media journalists well known for their thorough and revealing reporting on Rupert Murdoch and his vast media empire. Ben Smith, editor-in-chief of Semafor and the author of Traffic. Brian Stelter, Vanity Fair special correspondent and author of the upcoming book, Network of Lies, the epic saga of Fox News, Donald Trump, and the battle for American democracy. Guys, great to see you here. Couldn't think of a better two people to speak to about this. I guess I got to start with the basic question. I'll start with you, Brian. Why now? Why is Rupert Murdoch doing this now, just as we are about to enter this critical period of our election cycle?
Well, he's 92 years old, and he's every bit of 92 years old. He had started to take a back seat several years ago. You can see that in the Dominion legal filings. He acted more like a passenger than the driver of his own car. He acted like a viewer of his network and not the owner. And that was 3 years ago. I can only imagine it's gotten worse since then. He has tried to elevate his son, Lachlan. He wants Lachlan to be in charge. He also wants family stability. I woke up, read this story this morning, and I thought, this is the season finale of Succession, but not the series finale. It's only the season finale. I've now changed my mind on that. This is not even the season finale. I think we're going to hear more about this in the days to come. I think this might be like the mid-season finale. Okay, Rupert stepping aside at least a little bit, installing Lachlan, promoting Lachlan. That is a big move, but there's going to be more to come, I think, in the next few days or weeks when it comes to what the organization of these companies really is.
So to that point, to Brian's point about the stability and what happens next, do you think that there will, even though this is the outward-facing part of Fox and they're trying to, as they have been for months, signal stable, clear succession, could there be potentially inside the company a different power dynamic, people who are vying for positions or jockeying for carving out parts of the empire? Could we perhaps see Fox News sold?
I mean, the story of Fox really for almost a decade now has been a power vacuum in which, and I think that's what you saw in those things with Rupert Murdoch, kind of kibitzing, but not really running the place. Lachlan, who's the CEO, he CEOs this American company from Australia. And when you ask them about it, they say, well, he takes calls at 3 a.m, which I think no one believes. And so it's a really quite strange place with fiefdoms and different anchors doing different things. And it's in the context of a very difficult media environment where what they are is kind of a small media company by the standards of conglomerates that dominate the American media landscape. That is basically solely in the cable business, which is an increasingly tough business. And it's a moment when they're going to need to make some fairly dramatic moves to keep the company going. And this is a gesture of stability, but it's really hard to see where it leads.
Speaking of Lachlan Murdoch, what do we know about him? I mean, he's definitely visible. I mean, you know him. I guess we recognize him. But what do we actually know about him? What do we know about his managerial style? Ideologically, is he as committed to the Rupert Murdoch, Roger Ailes school of Fox News?
Well, he's certainly as conservative as his father. Right. We can hear that in speeches. He was rooting for Donald Trump to win the 2020 election, whereas his father, Rupert, was very, very critical of Trump, even in 2018, 2019, 2020. It's a little bit of a mystery how Lachlan feels today about Trump, but you look at his network, and they are certainly, although Trump complains about Fox all the time, they are certainly supporting him in a lot of different ways. But, I mean, Ben, you've reported on Lachlan being laid back, being almost like a caretaker CEO. At least that's how critics describe him within the company.
Yeah, I mean, I think one detail that stuck with me is he had a rock climbing wall installed on the studio lot when they still ran the entertainment business. Because he's very interested in spearfishing. He's not, his father is an obsessive entrepreneur who built a huge empire. That's, this is his eldest son.
That's not right. That's not what the son wants. And so the question then becomes, will they then spin off the assets? Will Fox News end up in someone else's hands? We know the more liberal son, James, is disgusted by the programming on Fox News. He would like to see change there. But there's no way he can affect that when Rupert Murdoch is still alive. And today, Rupert said, whether we believe him or not, he said he's in robust health.
So when you look at the vast media empire that is under the control of Fox and the Murdoch family, and they are still going to be the largest shareholders, if you will, as a voting bloc, the family that is, are they still committed to the ideological bent of Fox News? Do you think that there could be we saw Tucker Carlson pushed to the side, and there's still other very prominent, very powerful voices in conservative circles. Any chance with this new change there could be a slight reorientation of Fox?
No.
I mean, and is that ideological or just simply a bottom line decision?
I would say both. Right. But certainly Murdoch's his retirement letter contained kind of a parting shot at elites. Certainly not him.
You don't get much more elite than that.
From his vineyard or his yachts.
And I think they're going to stay where they are. They also, the parallel company, which Lachlan is now taking over, News Corp, controls the Wall Street Journal, a number of newspapers around the world. I mean, it's a big, powerful company, and journalists have spent their entire careers pre-writing obituaries for Rupert Murdoch. I mean, those things are thousands of words long on the shelf everywhere, and could be there a while longer. And the real reckoning really probably doesn't come until the kids fight over his inheritance.